Hi, I'm Lee. I'm from Team Maiden. Team Maiden was a team created for the Thinkquest project, and we're all from Worcestershire and Wolverhampton. The team had never met before in real life. We all met through an online workspace called Virtual Workspace, where all we knew about each other was what we posted in previous communities, and it was the idea of completing this project that brought us all together. Our team members changed throughout the competition as people became interested and others lost interest or didn't do any work, and it was the final team that managed to put the final website together. Our website was about nanotechnology, but that was only one of many topics we came up with. We also thought about doing one about website design, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, drugs and alcohol, or the great science debate. The idea being a controversial subject would do well and allow for lots of content on the site. However, it was 4 months after choosing our topic that we finally started with the actual project. The sections that we split the site down to included in the news, the future, interact, research, and the current uses of nanotechnology. Each would provide a research base for the actual person completing the section, as well as when people were viewing the site, they'd easily be able to find what they wanted in the section that interested them. We felt it was important to cover the news section, as nanotechnology is an ever-developing subject, and there was news coming up all the time, especially as we were completing the project. So once each user had chosen their section, they started the research. Rather than editing the web pages directly and risking overwriting each other's work, we completed it in a word processor, and using these files we could email it round each other to check what each other had done, make sure spellings were right, and make corrections depending on what we'd found out. All of these files was then sent to one person who could put it into the website and form the final content without risk of people changing things halfway through and people not knowing what stage we'd reached. At this stage we decided to build our layout. When building the layout, we wanted it to reflect nanotechnology, so we tried to keep it with a modern look, silvers and blues, so that people could see that it was a technological subject. And when designing the site, we also had to bear in mind how people viewed it on the internet. So we wanted it so it could stretch to different size screens, as well as working in multiple browsers for accessibility reasons. So within this we focused on IE and Firefox, as if we can get them to work in both of those, most browsers followed suit. After we received the peer reviews back, we still had a lot of work to complete on the site. There was still pages without content, or content that had been developed in the meantime that we wanted to add. So this was our highest priority, and we spent a lot of our time doing this. As part of this, we had to continue to check the content. Even when inserting it into the web pages, we were finding more spelling mistakes, formatting errors, grammatical errors, and right up until the deadline we were correcting these to make our site the highest quality possible. As part of spotting the spelling mistakes, we wanted to translate our site into another language to introduce a global aspect. Now, we had 5 members to our team, and the idea was we were going to try and get a 6th member from another country to work with us to support us with our translation. Now, unfortunately, we were a bit too close to the deadline for this to happen, and although we tried, it did fall through in the end. So we were left sort of translating it online and using some people's knowledge of the language, which we actually used Dutch, to translate what we already had and then insert it into the site. We didn't want to use an online translator by itself, as it often breaks the site layout, so by translating it and including it back into the layout, we knew it would look just as we wanted it to look. As part of the site's features, we wanted to include unique content to attract people to the site. So within this we included an RSS reader, the idea of this being that it could continually update the news section without us needing to update the site. So even though the project was completed 6 months ago, there's still news from today that people can read as they research. We also wanted to include a section that people could write their own notes and print them out as they went around the site, so they didn't necessarily need another word processor open. And as part of the news section, we created a timeline to act as a unique way of finding the news article you wanted from the time period you wanted. As part of the Interact section, we included a quiz to test what people have learned throughout the site, a crossword and a flash game, all of which could be used to bring users to the site before they later used it for finding whatever they were looking for. When creating the site, we faced a few problems. As part of the Thinkquest competition, we were only able to use HTML and JavaScript, which, although means that everyone's on a level playing field, it can be quite restrictive. For example, I like to use PHP, and there were a lot of features I'd have liked to have built in if I was able to use this. And although some alternatives can be completed in Flash, they're not always quite the same. We also found that it's quite hard to produce content that everyone can understand, especially in quite a scientific subject. You wanted to get across the advanced sections while simplifying it enough so people of various age groups could understand it. We also found that other distractions appear and cause time problems. For example, quite a few of us had exams, which meant that we couldn't put the time into the site, or we just had other commitments which we had to prioritise first. And probably if we'd have started earlier and used the time to the maximum, these wouldn't have faced such a problem. But because we thought we had so much time to complete the project and left it very late, we found that these were influencing us a lot more towards the end, and we were starting to regret leaving it to starting so late. The most important part of the project was what we achieved at the end of it. The biggest achievement we had was one of the first 3 teams to complete an entry for the UK competition, and this was something that, as well as ourselves being proud of, everyone else was proud of, especially people who'd helped us with the project, such as mentors from the virtual workspace and people from the local LEA who are fully behind the project. We also had a site that displayed correctly in multiple browsers and provided information for people to complete education research, which was the whole objective of the site and the actual competition. We also discovered new areas of knowledge and technology, both from developing the site and reading around the nanotechnology subject. We also learned a lot about team skills, working together to complete a project and completing this on time. And making new friends came as a result of this. We'd never met online until we all went to London, and it was amazing how we got on even though we knew very little about each other. Finally, I'd like to leave you with thoughts for future Thinkquest entries. We found that if we could get in contact with experts within the subject area, it would provide unique content for the site and help develop it. Getting in contact with people from different countries would also enhance this, bringing in global perspectives into the site, which is part of the actual competition and what they're aiming for. Also, bearing in mind accessibility is a big thing on websites nowadays, making sure everyone can access it and not just the ones normally associated with web access.